Hello there, welcome back and welcome to part 56 in my build log series of Trumpeter 1:200 scale model of the Titanic. Today I'm working on the bridge and what I'm doing for the bridge is I'm using a China 3D print. So I'm actually using two different sets. There's the bridge set which comes with a wheelhouse and the sort of forward portion of the bridge. And then I'm also using a selection of bits from a set called Deck Bits 1. And that's got stuff like the ship's wheel, telegraph handles, compass platforms, general paraphernalia that was on the bridge. And I've got to say, I've really been looking forward to doing the bridge because it's such an iconic part of the ship. I love the sort of elegance of how the front of it sort of sweeps backwards. And also, it's a fantastic opportunity to add a lot of real detail because unlike most of the interiors, this is really visible. You can see right inside, you can see the telegraphs, and you can see the quartermaster standing at the wheel. So it's a fantastic opportunity to add a lot of detail. So this is going to be over two parts, and I'm also going to do a separate review video on the China 3D print for the bridge piece and Deck Bits 1. But the actual build video, this will be done in two parts. Today I am hoping to get to a point where I've extracted the bridge from its support material and done all the painting. And then the next video will focus on actual installation onto the model and also putting the side lights on. The reason I'm doing it in two parts is quite simply because the side lights haven't arrived in the post yet. I don't have small red and green LEDs. I've ordered them, but they haven't arrived yet. So we're going to do it in two parts, and if I'm honest, I think there'll be enough content to spread across two videos anyway. So I've blithered on for far long enough. I don't think blithered's a word. Anyway, let's crack on.
Right, I'm just going to show how I go about extracting stuff from the printed support structure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of these bridge wings off. So the first thing to note is I'm using a sharp blade and I'm heating it up. So one thing to know about that is that when you heat up the blade, it will blunt very quickly. These blades tend to be heat treated, and by heating them up yourself, you pretty much undo that process. So don't expect this blade to hold its edge. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter because you're not using the blade because of its razor sharpness, you're using it because of the heat. So what I would suggest doing is just have one blade that you use as a hot blade. When you're not using it for extracting from support material, just take it off and replace it with another blade. But blades are consumable things, but just don't expect it to last forever. The second thing I would say is help yourself out. You can see I've already taken the manger bridge section off that I showed you in the previous time lapse. We now don't need this piece along here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap it off. Then it's out the way. And I've sort of helped myself out. I've given myself a lot more room to work. So I've got the hob on here. I've got a gas hob, so I can heat my blade up on that. And then what we're going to do is just going to get the blade and cut through those supports there. And it goes through like butter. And I'll start with the really delicate stuff. And then we'll move on to the heavier stuff. The sooner you can release the delicate stuff, the better, because any movement and these will break. So the faster you can get it away from this rigid support material, the better. So we'll get all of the delicate stuff off first. Going to snap this other side off. And I mean, I'm not really even applying any pressure here. I'm just touching the blade on and the material's coming away, which is great. That's what we want. again, you see, I'm not really applying any pressure to that. I'm just rubbing the blade along, really, but it's enough. One thing, of course, actually to be careful about is that as the blade cools, you don't want to have it stuck in the plastic, and that can happen if you're not careful. So do just be aware that the blade cools down quite rapidly. You don't want to leave it in there and then the plastic dries around it and sort of sticks it in place. That would be suboptimal. Right, we're not far now. Oh yes. Of course, what can be quite tricky is keeping track of where you've actually been. But no harm in going over old sections again. Now we can't be far off here. No, we're not. You feel when the part starts to loosen up. In fact, there we go now. I'll see if I can get it out. Nope, we're missing a little bit at the front. Ah, yes. We go. Beautiful. So, as you can see, we've got all of that stuff off, all of the interior too, all of that beautiful detail preserved. So, I'll just turn the hob off now, I don't want to waste any gas. So, the only thing I can say here is just take your time. This is not a quick process, but then equally, these are not inexpensive parts. So take your time and you will get there. Now these parts will require a wee little bit of sanding. So what I'm doing is I'm just going over any area that had support material on, just very delicately sanding down. The points where the support material actually contact onto the parts are so small that you don't really need to do a lot of this. But a little bit doesn't hurt. course, some bits, like these bits here, are apocalyptically delicate. So you do just want to be very, very, very delicate yourself. Because it would be sad to get all this way and then break something. So I'm just starting to glue the bridge and the bridge wings together. And this is a fairly tricky little process because they are sort of tricky parts that you've got to orientate in 3 dimensions. But you can see that there is a certain amount of help given in that if you have a flat surface like this table, you can plonk both bits down and that automatically levels you in, you could call it the x-axis, I suppose. And then you can use the dimensions of the other parts to get you the orientations correctly. So for example, there's this sort of walking sort of foot stand which aligns with the stand piece on the bridge wing, and you see that when you connect the 2 parts together, when you have them correct, the 2 parts align. So it should be a relatively simple matter of aligning these 2 things together. And we'll now do the same on the other side. I'm being very sparing with the amount of glue I'm using here, by the way. There we go. So as you can see, I've now given everything a hearty coat of white, and I'm now masking up so that I can spray the areas that need it in the grey sort of sealant-y kind of colour that these areas were adorned with. So I'm going to mask up these 2 bits for the Morse lamps, and then we'll get the airbrush out and start spraying.
Now, unfortunately, I did record myself using the airbrush, but my hair gets in the shot, so I think I'm going to cut the rest of this scene. So as you can see, despite the hair getting in the way, the airbrushing was a success, and I'm now just going over and picking out any wooden details with Humbrol 62. So in this clip I am painting the various different bits that I have extracted from Deck Bits set 1. So this is things like telegraph handles, the ship's wheel, compasses, and also sort of stands and stuff that were adorning the bridge. So just looking at adding some additional detail into the wheelhouse behind us. And one of the things you get on the KA set is this sort of sheet of printed photo etch. You can see that there is the sides of the telegraphs, which of course I don't need because my telegraphs have painted detail on. There is also the ship's wheel, and again I don't need that because my ship's wheels are done via 3D print. But one bit that I am quite keen to use is this sort of back wall piece here. So this is the phones and the clock that would have been in the wheelhouse. And the 3D print of the wheelhouse is lovely. Lots of detail, but what you don't get is a back wall. So what I've done is I have cut out a piece of plastic and I shall paint this white, stick it in place, and then add this onto the back of it. And that'll give me some additional detail within the wheelhouse. Right, I'm just adding the window shutters now onto the outer portion of the bridge. And this is a fairly routine process. I'm sure you've seen me do it 100 times, but I'll show you one. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit of glue and just dot that down where the window shutter needs to be. Spread it out a bit. There is a hole in the middle of the shutter, which, you know, obviously useful to have the glue spread over a bit more of an area. And then just pick up shutter with blue tack and drop it in place. And it's nice and simple, and just before the glue is grabbed you can just subtly move it into position, and there we go, nice and simple. So this seems like an appropriate place to end the video. With the next video we will be actually installing the bridge onto the model and also doing the side lights and that kind of stuff. So I'll leave you now with some shots of the bridge as it is. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Also, pop any comments down below on how you think I can improve this. I'm anxious for the bridge to be as good as possible because it's such an iconic part of the model. If you've enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hello there, welcome back, and welcome to part number... No idea, absolutely not. Hello there, welcome back, and welcome to part 5. I'm just going to check, much easier. Today I am working on the crow's nest. Oh, I'm not, I'm working on the bridge. Hello there, welcome back, and welcome to part 5. Hello there, welcome back, and welcome to... My Hoover thing just beeped. Anyway, hello there, welcome